Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 20th of March for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some standout features to look out for. This week there are a lot, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail all the key influences particularly relevant to your sign. If you are new here, it's great to have your company. If you'd like to comment, this is very much a community and I do interact with each one. But please do also subscribe. If you're a returning visitor, thank you so much for joining me once more. This week begins on Monday with the spring equinox and cardinal quadrant 1. This triggers the first of the 4 quarters of the year. Cardinal basically means leadership. The sign of Aries, where the sun returns to, is a fire sign, and of course it's very much about initiative. So whether it's new things that excite us or ongoing strands that we want to inject with greater vibrancy, this is a fine time to do it. But of course, on Tuesday we have the new moon also in Aries, but this is going to be squaring up with the ruler of Aries, Mars. So although we can try and be more dynamic and positive, what I don't feel we should do is be too reckless in our approach, because Mars's square suggests that if we rush into anything without giving it due consideration, planning and research, it could end up being rather a waste of energy, and we can scatter resources too. But also on Tuesday, there is a beautiful conjunction between Venus and the North Node. This can engender within us our desire to enjoy more sensual pleasures, whether it's good food, good wine, or being up close and personal with someone we are involved with. But Thursday, Pluto arrives in the sign of Aquarius. It's only going to be here 11 weeks this year. It only gets up to 26 minutes. So Pluto doesn't even reach the first degree of Aquarius. But it's still significant, and it's an opportunity for us all to think at a very deep level how we are all connected, because the sign of Aquarius is one of individuality, but it's also one of the group. Now on Saturday, Mars ends its giant journey through the sign of Gemini, which began on August the 20th and emerges into the sign of Cancer. If you are a water sign or a fixed sign, this is something to celebrate almost immediately. The position of Mars in Cancer is not its technical best transit. Of course, Mars does rule the water sign of Scorpio, but also the fire sign of Aries. And it's known technically as being in fall. But the issues that Cancer is concerned with, security, protectiveness, defense, is definitely going to be something that comes much more into our approach. But the position of Mars and the position of Pluto are in a quincunx. That's 150 degrees. So it kind of means that there can be a difficulty in integrating our approach in some way. So we have to try and work with this week and the new energy it brings, but I feel not rushed too much in how we deploy our ideas. Please stay with me now for your in-depth forecast. If you would like to understand a lot more about how Sirius astrology can really impact on your life, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can provide for you your life roadmap report. This will give you a much more intimate understanding of the patterns that have played out in your situation, but also how you can work with the more challenging ones more effectively, but also take advantage of your talents. Now, within my special package of 30% off, you can also get your 12-month personal forecast. No 2 charts are the same and are totally unique to you, and can give you searing insights for the months ahead. If you don't know your time of birth, I have devised a new package which can give you an enormous amount of information, but it's based more on your sun sign rather than the ascendant, which you can't know if you don't know your time. Please also see the link beneath this video. So Pisces, recently you may have been propagating an awful lot of ideas, but things may not have been moving forwards quite at the speed you would like. And part of the reason for this is actually your co-ruler of Neptune, which has heightened your imagination hugely, but because it's been applying its energies to both Mercury and the Sun, as much as your ideas have been enormous, you may not have quite had the inner spark to actually push them over the finishing line. The great news about this week is with the Sun's passage into the sign of Aries, the equinox and the new moon, you can start to get more traction. You can push those ideas from the drawing board stage or from the depths of your mind into something more tangible and more structured. And that can actually be very gratifying. Also, your ability to talk to people about your ideas is gifted with the magic of Venus and the North Node in a very dynamic conjunction. But it is true that Mars has been in your 4th house since last August and probably made you at times a little bit frustrated around your emotional world or about where you live. Maybe your immediate environment has seemed to close in on you somewhat. But Mars moves on Saturday into an enormously helpful sector for you personally. The following 6 weeks can really see you sparkle. But the thing is, the 5th house energy of Mars, which is very demonstrative, can be very good for feeling better about our sense of attractiveness. So super good for social interaction because it's squaring up to the new moon and also the spring equinox. It means the background energy of the 2nd house asks you to be cautious, whereas the 5th house energy of Mars, which of course can be an impulsive influence, is more about taking risks and being speculative. So I wouldn't be too quick to move forwards with the ideas that start to gain that traction. Just inch forwards in a very systematic, checked out, due diligence, well-researched way, and by the end of this week you will start to feel that things are really moving in the right direction. But of course, what about the mighty Pluto? Well, for you, that arrives in the part of your horoscope that's very much to do with the psychological dimension, but Saturn was testing that for 2.5 years anyway. That probably taught you a lot. It may have been actually really quite brutally hard at times. What more can Pluto bring in its 11-week occupation? Well, I think the answer to that question really depends on exactly where your sun is. If you're born more towards the end of the sign of Pisces, well, you're having a sextile to the position of Pluto. So I think the answer is it can be very productive for you. If you're born more towards the beginning of the sign of Pisces, it's a semi-sextile. So at this stage, this early stage, this first blush of Pluto, I don't think it's going to have quite the impact that, say, Saturn is now having in your sign, which is really asking you to narrow down your focus to the things that are really important. So I think symbolically, Mars gives you a lot of thrust this week. The Sun, also Jupiter and Mercury, help you to grapple with everyday finances and also getting that structure into a plan that may have seemed a bit ethereal up until now, and generally getting a bit more grounded. But there can be some kind of sparkling conversation that does delight you as well this week.